Summer is here. Human Service Agency and Prairie Lakes Healthcare System is grateful for a variety of local experts who are here to talk about different summer topics. Today you'll hear about sunscreen tips, fire pits, heat exhaustion, drinking responsibly, and biking and walking etiquette. Special thanks to the City of Watertown for hosting us. Up first is Abby Geetson with Prairie Lakes Dermatology. We all like to get outdoors, and Abby is here to talk about sun safety.
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name's Abby Geetson. I am a physician assistant. I work in dermatology over at Prairie Lakes Healthcare System, here to talk about sun safety. As you can tell, the summer is heating up quite quickly. We're all spending more time outside, and something really important to remember is to protect our skin from the harmful UV rays. The sun can not only cause really painful sunburns, but it can also increase your risk of skin cancer as well as early signs of skin aging. So one of the most important things that you can do for your skin is to put on sunscreen every day. I know that's not very fun to hear, but it's really important to help protect your skin against the sunburn and the early signs of skin aging as well as the skin cancer. So when you're shopping around for different sunscreens, there's a couple things you can look for right on the bottle. You don't have to get any specific type of a brand of sunscreen, but just make sure you're looking for these three key things. One is you want the sunscreen to be broad spectrum, meaning it protects against the two dangerous types of UV rays from the sun. Another thing is you want it to be SPF of 30 or higher. One of the common myths that people believe is that the higher the SPF, the less often I have to put sunscreen on. That's actually not true. You have to make sure you're applying sunscreen every 2 hours in order for it to have its benefit. So SPF of 30 or higher and reapplying every 2 hours if you're outside. And then the third thing you want to look for is the SPF to be water resistant, meaning that it doesn't wash off if you're really sweaty or if you're out in the water. If it does say water resistant, it's going to have a number on it, either 40 or 80 minutes. That just means you need to make sure to reapply every 40 to 80 minutes if you're going to be sweating excessively or in the water. So if you can't wear sunscreen, if you're really sensitive to lotions and other products, it's good to just make sure you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, a hat to protect your skin from the sun, as well as babies who are 6 months of age or younger really shouldn't wear sunscreen. So if you have an infant 6 months of age or younger, you just want to make sure you pull them out of the sun so they're not getting sun burned. So those are very common things to look for on sunscreen. Make sure you're applying every 2 hours, SPF of 30 or higher, water resistant, and broad spectrum. Other things I like to tell patients are make sure you're applying to the tops of your ears, your scalp if you're a little bit thinner on the top of your scalp, as well as on the sides of your neck. Those are common places that people forget. So just to make sure you're getting those areas that are often forgotten. At Prairie Lakes, we see a lot of skin cancer, so we like to encourage patients to wear sunscreen on a daily basis, but especially if you're going to be outside. If you do have skin concerns, if you have questions about sunscreen or sun protection, we're happy to answer your questions. You can go to prairielakes.com or give us a call. Come and see us and we can help you out. Thanks.
Thanks, Abby. So up next we have Dalton with Watertown Fire Rescue. Well, summer is here and it is hot. So Dalton's going to talk about heat exhaustion and a few other tips.
It is, thanks. My name is Dalton Axelson with Watertown Fire Rescue. I'm a firefighter paramedic there. So with heat exhaustion, like we said, it's summer's here. It's getting hot. Forecast is hot again this week, and it's going to continue to get hot all summer. So a few things we can do to keep us safe throughout the summer and keep us safe throughout the heat is, one, stay hydrated. When we're out in the sun, hydrate beforehand as well. We're not trying to play catch up and just drink water right afterwards. Make sure we're drinking plenty of fluids, not just water. We need to replace some of those electrolytes as well. So obviously we want to drink water over pop or anything like that. We don't want as much caffeine, but bring in some Powerade or Gatorade, something with electrolytes that can help what we've sweated out. Some symptoms of the heat exhaustion are fatigue, muscle cramps, specifically arms, legs, and the abdomen as well. Those are starting to get a little bit more on the severe side. Excessive sweating is another sign. So that's one way your body self-regulates, is to sweat, help cool you down. When we get more to the severe side, we're going to lose that ability to sweat, as well as we're not going to be able to salivate as much either. That's starting to get more of that severe sign, more towards the heat stroke, where our body's temperature is getting above about 104. We can also start to see seizures as another side effect of that. Heat stroke can in itself be deadly. It can cause brain damage and ultimately death as well. So make sure we're cooling down, stay hydrated. If you notice you are getting a little bit heat exhausted, cool yourself down. Go to a cool room, go to AC, strip some layers off, put some cool water across your skin, let a fan blow off, but cool down as quick as we can. And again, stay hydrated with that. The next thing we're going to talk about is bonfire and bonfire safety. Big thing with bonfires is they're the cause of 85% of our wildfires are from human nature. Mostly unattended bonfires are what people think that they put out the night before. They rekindle and keep moving. But with our city ordinance, bonfires have to be within a closed loop diameter of no more than 3 feet around and no higher than 2 feet. That just helps keep the flame in a controlled setting. Anytime we have an open flame, we want to make sure that we have some type of water source that can help extinguish that fire, or some other type of extinguisher, whether it be a fire extinguisher or a water can, a garden hose. We want to have something there that can help put the fire out if it were to get out of its containment. Another thing is, when we're starting those fires, use proper kindling, whether it's a starting log that you can buy from a store, paper. We try not to burn plastics just because the chemicals that are released from the smoke are so bad for you. But don't ever use gasoline. Gasoline is very bad to put on a fire. There's several people get burned every year just because they pour gas on fire. So keep yourself safe when burning at all times. Adult supervision for any children there. Try to keep pets away from it as well. So with that, enjoy your summer and have a good week.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Stephanie Conander from the Northeast Prevention Resource Center at the Human Service Agency. People are outdoors, having summer parties, working outdoors, coolers are out. What do adults need to know?
Hi, yes, my name is Stephanie and I'm with the NEPRC at the Human Service Agency here in Watertown. And I do want to share some tips on how you can use alcohol safely this summer. Barbecues, bonfires, boating, they're all fun activities that we do like to participate in during the summer. And many times a cold alcoholic beverage does accompany these activities. As long as we are consuming them legally and responsibly, they can be an enjoyable part of our summer. First thing to keep in mind is that anyone under the age of 21 should not be consuming alcohol. Our brains continue to develop well into our mid-20s, and using substances like alcohol before then could have serious impacts on young brains. It's also important to tell our kids and our youth in our community that we do not approve of them participating in underage drinking. Another key takeaway is remembering those standard drink sizes. A standard drink is going to raise your blood alcohol content 0.02%, while your body is only able to eliminate around 0.015% per hour. So a standard drink size is we have a 12-ounce beer, a 5-ounce glass of wine, or 1.5 ounces of hard liquor. Make sure you're choosing the standard drink sizes and consuming about 1 drink per hour so that you're not increasing your BAC at a higher pace than what your body can remove. When we do think of summer, we do think about having fun in the sun. But many people don't realize that the toll that summer heat paired with alcohol can have on our bodies. Did you know that both alcohol and the sun can cause dehydration? Pairing these two together can create a situation where your body is less capable to regulate its own temperature. Kind of like Dalton mentioned earlier, when we do lose all that water, we're unable to, it could lead to heat stroke. If you're consuming alcohol in the heat and the sun, make sure you keep yourself hydrated by consuming plenty of water and switching between alcoholic beverages and water while you are drinking. Combining sun and alcohol also increases that intoxicating effect and makes it comes on faster. This can lead to decreased coordination and decision-making skills. It's especially dangerous when you're swimming and boating. Alcohol while swimming can skew your sense of direction, depth, as well as distance. This could mean diving into shallow water, swimming farther than you expected, or trying to swim in the wrong direction. All of these could lead to serious injury or drowning. And nearly 1/3 of all boating fatalities do involve alcohol. And boating, just like driving under the influence, is illegal and very, very dangerous. So if you do plan to be the driver of any type of watercraft, save the alcohol for when you're back on dry land. And speaking of dry land and driving, if you are traveling, make sure you do find a designated driver prior to starting to drink, because having designated drivers is the only way to celebrate responsibly this summer. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Human Service Agency here in Watertown. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll be ending with Ryan Remmers with the Watertown Police Department, and he's just going to do some follow-up with summer safety tips and reminders for everybody.
Thank you. Ryan Remmers with the Watertown Police Department. As Kelly said, we'd just like to talk for a few moments about pedestrian safety, bicycling safety, and then a little more about alcohol as it relates to just kind of getting things out of control and maybe in vehicles. And obviously we don't like to do that. So pedestrians, the weather's nice outside. Every year we end up getting sent to crashes involving a car versus a pedestrian. And we hate to see those because the chance of having some injury or a fatality involved are really great when you're talking about pedestrians, obviously. There's some things that the pedestrians themselves can do to help keep themselves safe, and then also what motorists can do. But let's talk for a moment about the pedestrians. If you can just act predictably as a pedestrian, you're going to increase the likelihood of you having a nice leisurely walk without getting hurt. That means walking on the proper side of the road. And in this case, if you're a pedestrian, it's on the left side of the road. Or even better yet, if you've got a sidewalk available, stay on that sidewalk. Doing things like using the crosswalk instead of near the crosswalk. Just stay right in the crosswalk, right where the motor vehicle people expect you to be. As long as you're acting predictably, you have a better chance of having the drivers seeing you and obviously not running into you then. Even some things that kind of sound a little bit, dorky, but they work really well. Bright colored vests, reflective clothing. I do that when I'm out walking or running at night or in the twilight hours. They make those vests with the reflective stripes on them. Take the extra couple seconds, put one of those things on. They make you a lot more visible to the motoring public when you're doing that. So be predictable, use crosswalks, bright colored clothing, be where you should be as a pedestrian. Obviously, when we're talking about kids, talk with your kids about not darting out into traffic in between cars, chasing the ball around. Every year we end up dealing with something like that, and it's a sad situation every year. We don't need to have people getting hurt for those reasons. So, then from the motorist side of things, just be aware. It's nice out. You're going to have kids outside. They're going to be chasing those balls into the road. Just slow down a little bit in those residential areas. Be vigilant, be aware, and try not to be going any faster than you need to be going. Let's talk bicycling for just a second. Bicycling, obviously the opposite of walking. We're going to be on the right-hand side of the road. When you're a bicycle, you're essentially you're expected to treat just like you're driving a car. You're going to obey all the traffic laws. That means stop signs. That means stop lights. You're acting like a motor vehicle. Kids, it'd be good if you just kind of stay on the sidewalks unless you're with mom and dad. If you're with your son or daughter riding and that, maybe have the kid next to the curb and you're the one that's out closer to traffic. But just be smart about that. Again, wear bright colored clothing. Helmets is another thing. It wasn't so cool to wear a helmet when I was a kid, but nowadays I ride more bicycle around the streets of Watertown than any given person in town. I can guarantee you that. Every single mile, my helmet's on. I always wear my helmet. It's just I've seen one so many times where somebody tips over at a slow speed, hits their head against the ground, and gets hurt really bad. That helmet will do wonders to save your life. So wear the helmet. Again, bright colored clothing and be predictable. Just same thing we're talking about with pedestrians. Just ride on the proper side of the road, turn left after you've looked behind you over your left shoulder. Just be predictable. Do things that the motoring public expects you to do. The two last things I'd like to talk about here are just a little bit of like alcohol stuff in the parks and sometimes how we see some complaints There was a time when it was just completely illegal to have an open alcohol container in public. The Watertown City ordinances have been relaxed a little bit in recent years. It is now within the law to have alcohol in some of the parks with some restrictions. There is a rule on the books that says that if there are youth activities going on, alcohol should not be consumed. So for those places like maybe the softball complexes and stuff where you've got certain times of the day where you got youth activities happening, no alcohol should be present. Later on that evening or on a different night of the week, it's adult softball games. Perfectly fine to have the alcohol then. So just kind of use some common sense there. Follow the signage at each of the different parks, especially those sporting event, like the signage outside of the complexes, that kind of stuff. They do a good job of describing when and where alcohol should be permitted. And then as Stephanie said earlier, just got to stay away from the drinking and driving. Use some common sense about the amount of alcohol you're drinking. Stay within limits. And if you're over that limit, you've had too much, just don't even question. Just don't drink and drive. Again, just like the car versus pedestrian thing I mentioned, we're going to run across lots of DUIs each summer. And unfortunately, we're going to have our handful of DUI-related traffic crashes and usually a fatality or two every summer. If you could help us avoid that, we would very much appreciate it. Two final things I'd like to end on is just the disorderly conduct statute or noise violations. We get questions about that every summer. It's nice out. Sometimes people got their windows open at night, and your neighbors or somebody down the block has got music a little bit too loud. The way our city ordinance is written, there's no decibel limit or anything that we go by. It's just that if your noise is an inconvenience to somebody else, it's potentially a violation of the city ordinance under the disorderly conduct law. So you shouldn't be disturbing other people, in other words, is what that law is written. So maybe just turn the music down a little bit, get with your neighbor. If they have a problem, just go mention it to them. If all else fails, call us and we'll help sort through that too. But just be respectful of your neighbors that way. And then along with the open windows, another complaint we get quite often is vehicles and mufflers at nighttime and even during the daytime. But city ordinance says you need to have a properly functioning muffler on your vehicle. So that means cars, motorcycles, anything like that. Just make sure you're not having a straight pipe or some altered muffler, altered exhaust system. You got to keep those vehicles quiet because we do get complaints. Then we need to address those. So if you do your part to help keep Watertown a nice, quiet, safe community this summer and basically keep me and the guys at the fire department, we don't want to work that hard. We want you guys to help keep everybody safe too. So if you got any questions, be happy to answer anything down at the police department. We'll answer any questions you might have. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Jennifer Bender from Prairie Lakes Hospital and myself would like to thank our presenters today for sharing these very helpful tips and information to the community. We want to make sure everyone can enjoy these summer days. Thank you.